TVGH Toronto, Canada. Bari bin, bari wun, bari bem. Ear.
Milo TV, varabim, varabum, varabim.
Yeah. Milo TV, body bim, body bim, body bim. Yeah.
All right, people, Toronto, Canada, Melo TV, gonna have fun, freaky, funky, fantastic, free Friday. I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to whoever is watching my YouTube channel, depending on what time you're watching. And I have a breaking news here. I'll have to break it out for our numerous viewers. Mr. Macmillan, who happens to be the immigration minister for Canada, says that go back to your country after you've completed school in Canada. We will go for the details, so stay tuned for this program. All right. So yeah, pretty much that is what is going on currently. The immigration minister says a lot, like most people coming to Canada to school with criminal background stuff, and we'll go for the details. Kindly wait.
We're telling these students to go back to where they came from. A welcome shift, I'm sure, to many Canadians who've seen their communities and cities completely change over the past few years due to a mass influx of international students. Now, that reporting from Bloomberg came a day after Mark Miller said in a press conference that gang members and others with serious criminal backgrounds have entered this country on student visas.
Yes, so pretty much this is what the Canadian immigration minister Mark Miller is saying. He says, go back home after you completed your education. Why? Because he said like many people are here in Canada with this educational route, but they have criminal background checks.
Gang members and others with serious criminal backgrounds have entered this country on student visas. Surprise, surprise. Who knew that was happening? The Canadian government is also deporting migrants at its highest rate in more than a decade, much to the disappointment of open border activists and Toronto Star journalists. It's all very strange because you would think that the rhetoric of telling international students to go back home after receiving an education would be coming from the conservative opposition leader and not the open borders liberal.
All right, so what the immigration minister is saying is that pretty much most people wouldn't want to stay in Canada after their education. So we just try to ask him few questions, and what he says is that before you come to Canada, there are some forms for you to fill, and there is a place in the form that indicates that you would have to go to your country after education, of which you will agree and sign. So right now, most international students have no right to stay in Canada. They would have to go to their back home and then start working there or do whatever they want to do. Let's go back.
Government. What appears to be happening is that the current government, slumping in the polls and desperate for any boost of approval, are reacting to a major public shift in perception on immigration. Meanwhile, the conservative opposition seems paralyzed in fear of being called racist. Now, before we get into the show today, be sure to drop a like on this video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and we start today with Immigration Minister Mark Miller on Monday telling Canadians what most of us already knew, that many of the people entering our country as international students aren't exactly young future leaders, the cream of the crop. Some, in fact, happen to be gang members.
Well-determined actors.
This is where I want you guys to listen to. It says most of the international students in Canada are gang masters or gang members. They are gang related people who came to Canada to school. But my question is, didn't you do due diligence or criminal background checks? Okay, let's go back and listen to what Mark Miller, the immigration minister of Canada.
Regardless of the country, and particularly sophisticated gangs are often able to get around even the most stringent immigration requirements. And Canada has some of the most robust requirements in the world when we are checking people, but it's not perfect. There's a multifaceted way that we employ and that there are enforcement agencies employ to track people. But regrettably, at times people do get in and they do commit crimes. So well-determined actors do have an ability, despite best efforts, to get in.
As reported by True North, in a press conference with ethnic media outlets on Monday, Miller was asked how criminals from India can slip through the vetting process.
I think pretty much some of these issues were cropped up based on the fact that an agent in India was able to sort of smuggle about 700 Indian international students into Canada. So pretty much this is the reason. That is what I am thinking. As per my things, that is where the problem comes from. So this immigration minister, Mark Miller, says that you should go back to your country after education. In a press conference with ethnic media outlets on Monday, Miller was asked how criminals from India can slip through the vetting process and come to Canada.
Miller admitted that gang members are coming into the country, implying that it was inevitable when dealing with sophisticated criminal organizations. While Miller did not specifically name India, he said that the Canadian government often admits immigrants from countries whose governments are unreliable, allowing gang members to slip in with phony police background checks. You might be thinking to yourself at this.
So that is what he's saying. What he's scared is that most people have criminal background checks, but they've been able to sneak into Canada. So most international students have to go back to their country. Pretty much this is what is going on right now in Toronto. Not in Toronto, like everywhere in Canada. It's not easy. So let's go back to listen to what the immigration minister says.
Point that one easy solution to this problem would be to stop taking in so many immigrants from India. But something just tells me I'm not quite.
The thing has gotten to do with India. So mostly India. Because if one single person could smuggle like 700 immigrants to come to school here in Canada, what do you think? You see, before you come to Canada, they have to do this criminal background checks. So pretty much, immigration minister is bashing that area. And if you could remember, I did a story here about international students from India who happens to be in PEI, which is Prince Edward Island. They've started doing protests like we need to work, we need to do this, we need to do that. Meanwhile, they have no work permits. Their visas has expired. Most of them are out of status and stuff. So let's go back.
Sure what it is, that solution is off the table for this Liberal government. Maybe, also, just maybe, the reason why known gang members and other people with criminal backgrounds are able to enter the country on student visas is because international students are not required to go through criminal background checks. Mark Miller, in May, lied about that when asked in a press conference.
Speaking, if someone were on a student visa, would there be criminal record checks?
Yes.
There would be? And then how does that process work?
You check them, and if they have a criminal record, they don't come in.
You know, it seems pretty easy to slip through the criminal background check process if you're not actually being checked. And consider this for a moment. Mark Miller and his predecessor, Sean Fraser, oversaw the expansion of the international student program.
So before Mark Miller comes to be the immigration minister, there was this guy called Sean Fraser. He left before Mark Miller came. So, all right, video the entire video no war. My YouTube channel I MILO Milo TV. Okay, so you can't account to one sem. And near ma I cost who we are for nina. Ye done ye home. Na baby able to pa Toronto, Canada. By way of introduction, within the Prince Kojiteria MC Milo Canada based Ghanaian journalist. Na empanisi ade chini and tears and fryer nichi. Nanu ada na Canada immigration minister. Oswafo ahwe akwantu niema so ne niema o de fa ne immigration minister. Aye friend Mark Miller. Ena odi nsem bi betu dwa. wasi dia Milo TV tie nsem yiye na manento international students asumu se wo be ko school awo Canada ye fra bibi SOP statement of purpose na so be statement of purpose na se a o chiro wi a ye ma wo san anya bia ye bo ana na mse ndie menim makimele mebusa school fo no bi na o se kwadwa kwanya ho a ebusa wo menwe na de o nyina nsa wo be ko school no wi a bibia ni ho a kyese wo be tena kurodua mu wo se wo ba ko watcho statement of purpose say wonim die wo benya wo knowledge wo be akwai ani nyansa wo benya wo Canada nyina no wo bo ne do boa na de akowudiem anu nti ana Canadian government no emma wo visa say bra na be ko school ne nei wo ko school na wi a adenti ana woni aban ebetentam nti omo kyese tinton tan wo ya no be ko school na wi a straight up go back to your country. Milo TV people, Toronto, Canada, gonna have fun. Bada bim, bada boom, bada bim. Yeah. Now be here. Ansa no real friend Mark Miller. Be betna abanyu so. Now be betna aya kunya kesi ya. Your friend immigration minister so no. Now there was this guy of free Nova Scotia. Your friend son Frazier. Ono anu wote so. Na enei. So be here Canada. You conservative. And you Libra. And of course Libra no. And a friend Justin Pierre Trudeau, Wadano, and Nemino Cassatri, one a tear banya so. Now, pay and a beer quanyamo be beer and your quanya, or also ever Canada. Now, so bua conservative for airborne in say, already, dear Justin Trudeau, what many papa system no moto. Among 4 Bamuso Munya, Babina, Omunya Juma and yet. Namuana Mukwa did the Maya, you send Jaffa for Gumuana. Da biamfa tisai ha dwen a sune de pamo omo ba omso ombeko school na omakoko omo school na wie no monko enti yetumirika ne de makọ bia ye friend PEI Prince Edward Island eho aye Canada one province bako na India for no ba no medu Canada aya no mu hwehwia tisa de wodi akura wodi kramanya ko bush na okope abo e friend no akrantie bia na se okope amokuye bi ache no omodo omo hwini hwehwia saate apampa na fei omo trezi eti India for no hwehwia na omu se da bi so omo form back no omo copy ya ho a anya bi ombenya wo permanent resident ntem omo koduru ya hirabasa ene so akoye bibia ho enei PI for omo local government kire se timamufu kura nya adwuma nye na momo ba ya na mo betie so ntonto omo ko mu school wie ya dudu na pa che se omo press on benya extension dudu na so press omo so benya adwuma den aye na nu na PI won local government ne kire se India foi Canada man anya mo de yawo na mo ensema akukọ nyina no mo kura mo na makofa ba na India ni ba ku se oh adentina opanyinkase wo ka asem se ya kire yen asem ya ye ti se yi ena o se da bi mo na mo man mu oba ku 14 ba bi ena wo kofa letter ena wo sumagire ena otimi edite ye ena odi nipa mako 700 ena wo mbewura system no mu eno nti mo India fo na makofa asem wo nyina aba enti ya ka mo kama nuntum na mo mfa mbag mfiri ya na Canada no anya ye no mo ena chichire ye mo nko back enti abusiafo behwe a ene Libra fo no ema nipa ba ye no ama conservative fo no subuofu ansema mo so ka nyina ne se Justin Pierre Trudeau ama sebe criminals nipa bia onsem fata nipa bia oni akwanya a osen ko bewura system no mu omo nyina afa the school route pajeti ni epa o asem o enya kwadwete wia na mebo misire mu aka da bia me kam se ye news bi say ana say ye can this thing like this what you need to do is say grab your phone, go to Google, do the research, okay? And nunti and some I kosu nyina no. You see India for na kofa ba. Omo ne kofare bai. Omo na akoye niema we a aba be for amanfo as say nipa hu de oye no ho a Canada ban say wo twi nipa so ntonton say wo ba na obeko school awie dia fa bag ne ko bag. Wo hu de e koso. Now, kwase na se de nyonko ne ne no. Sensuo to na egu nchinim na nkuto hu na nani gia bia na awia so be yeden e bebo aguso eti se be ya anka yemfa ye ho adwene hu kwan ye befa so afei obehya abusuafo a mo nso eba Canada with 1 year visa a obeko school a adi 150 days a onko school no me ba cho mo saafo no okopa extension be ye den se wonsa beka nti tenase ne fa wo ho adwen Melo TV ha ye kwan ho bare bim bare boom bare bem enti ba cho me de mo besi ya ba de mpese me ka cho wa ne se so waba Canada na wadwen nyina waba otiri mu po se obese wo tena system ni mu a bra udu ye na fa ho adwen de so ye bia ye okay de so ye bia why wadwen so obese wo tena system ni mu no you have to do it na mom ye na ye ni yie and tena obi fa ho die so e mamra no nyeden eniwu okay so ti asema me ka me se ye na ye ni yie because say no kamia ko say enema essa but sometimes akokoko na be wie yen ya empanisi wudua nkontompo aburu afifiri wunan ho ene sen yenya akwanya ba Canada no ye sori ya na yakọ downtown na ye video Canada de na de country awukọ a ye easy obenya ho akọ afei na yasa den yasa de kotena TikTok na ebi mu kotena train mu na omu twitwa amanfo videos Canada de abende ayese aboadem ayese yenkro ya o ani ekofa asansem we nyina baaye omde na nko muso obi amra bi and of course I keep on saying ba wo ba no wo so wo be ko school okay ba wo ba no wo so wo ban srahwe obedu system no wie no obesa wo sesa na akọ adwuma but you don't have what it takes to work. This is where my problem is. So try say obepe visa ebetimi ama wo bedu system no mu na wotimi akoye adwuma nyesa obedu wie a obenya obi abone sobo but this is not what you have to do. Tenase biewani na tutuoni emaye okay Canada is a land of unlimited opportunities we are brantie we bedu abese otenema stay away from trouble ma woni na ho ma omuni kwan omunim kwan no di omu achi kakra na befa okay emo obi amfa hu bi anhye mu afi ma titititi nsem bi woni ye nsem bi aya titititi yesi nipa bi sabe ebi mu epe menka ne sen no mo kan se obi a opese ye bobɔ ne din awa abonten ase obese oba system no mo opese oye bibi na ono so o trend sort of obi opese o trend enti yesi ono so ya na okika nsem bi se mo amoba ye no na sei na mo amoba ye no na sei me ba cha otie Canada nya o man a wonnama obi behu obusa ase fa okrata bra ema obi amfa hu bia fi panic bia enhye obi amu enne me gina me YouTube channel so aka mo bibia ti bi say some of us ansa na ye baba be gina bontia ye video no we do research Canada ban dia beto ho say obi a ye out of status kra no say we see obi no person o worry na akwanya ne da ho go and do this research ebi mu ha they don't do research they just pick their phone because of some pet trending tino no mo be gina ho no mo kasa me gina me videos so me YouTube channel so na maka che o say Canada ban say budget ni ye pa wo obi o ya out of status ye kasa obi ya out of status na che say ne visa na o de ba system ni mu no awu o visa na wu no doesn't mean say you have to go back no way tena system no mu wa shi obi so ba ware no yie sa mo obi amfa fie panic bia nhye obi amu nipa bi nam na o mo kika nsem na obi ye PSW na say na obi ye ho ni nyina eye kankwe o mo boa me say Canada na ye wo no mo obi amfa hu nhye obi amu do what you can do enye niema ensem fata akwanya ne da ho ofa kwan ne so a wo hia nipa a omunim kwan na o be kiro na won so wani eden wani ada ho na watumi anya niema na watena ha ba obra ye de kakra betumi aka kyewa no mamu ntietie nsem amanfo keka ebitumi nante no ko so wakofa nipa be yese de oho de omu frigana ba so omu nkoye adwuma sei ni sei but you out of nipa na kofa omu ba no ye hu obi ode na eden abegina social media say me asumasi anaso obentene pacho muntie ni ye pa o munya careful afa mu amaba obi so sebe ko ware na pekrata ko yesei anya se wushi oba bi wo choba ba bi anaso ko hia obi aso me ko wa no way. Melo TV people, Toronto, Canada, gonna have fun. But then disclaimer, me immigration lawyer, me immigration consultant, me a mere just street normal guy, I'm a factory adwuma, and I'm saying YouTuber. But me pese me nua no mobile system no mu no. Omo feel free, okay? say ya ne nyina ye ba ne tenetena mu saa ne nya krata ana me Canada bia me say omo ba animanim ye omo kra na what chance because mistakes bi ye no ye avoid ne ya kire wo mo ama mo so tutu wo na amwanamo asi ye okay we don't be see our credit card ahwesu ye okay busy using of your credit card using it tia nenya credit score be kosoro sanse wo ba wo ye young wo betena system no mo che abusua me dey the Prince Kojo Tewia MC Melo Canada based Ghanaian journalist subscribe and like it na if you want comment no share bare bim bare boom bare bem yeah. All right, so I'm like what will happen to the extent that an immigration minister will tell international students to go back home after school? Like, pretty much it's not easy. People come here to school, then end up getting their permanent resident cards, working for the Canadian government and stuff. But why would this happen? Let's go back to listen to what happened yesterday.
Gang members and criminals have entered Canada on student visas and slipped through the criminal background checks, which in many cases don't even appear to be happening, that Miller told Bloomberg News that international students, as he says, should perhaps go home and bring those skills back to their country.
All right, so this is what the man said once again. He said that should never be the promise. People should be coming here to educate themselves and perhaps go home and bring those skills back to their country. He said that hasn't always been the reason. So this is what the immigration minister of Canada says, that should never be the promise. That should never be the promise. People should be coming here to educate themselves and perhaps go home and bring those skills back to their country. Okay? So when you come to school here, after the education, bring your knowledge back home to your country so you could also end up helping them.
Country. Better late than never, I suppose, but still it's quite late to be telling them this now. Now that they're all...
Yeah, to me, it's pretty much late. Why would you have to be telling people this? I don't know. They have the power being vested in them allows them to say that. But public opinion says, why would you have to tell international students to go back to their native countries?
All protesting in the streets, demanding permanent residency and work permit extensions, and are getting increasingly more angry by the day. What a great formula in this country.
So yeah, as you heard the guy saying, like, most people says they need extension. Those people who came here like 1 year visa, 2 years visa says that their visa has ended, they need extension. Those guys looking for jobs says they are also angry looking for jobs. Protest.
Potentially dangerous international students who are very angry at the Canadian government and perhaps the Canadian people, and they are now making demands of this government. What could possibly go wrong? As Miller says in this Bloomberg article, no one was promised permanent residency who came to this country as an international student. In fact, what Miller doesn't say in this article, and what many Canadians may not be aware of, is that in order to receive your student visa, you have to have an interview with an immigration official. In that interview, you are asked point blank if you intend to go back home.
Okay, so this is what they are saying. Please listen to this particular point very attentively. They say that, this is what they said. They said, like, before you come to Canada to enroll, there is a place you will fill, and that will indicate that after schooling, you would have to go back home and they sign. Let's go back.
In that interview, you are asked point blank if you intend to go back home when your student visa expires. If you say no and you plan to stay, well, guess what? You're not getting your student visa.
Okay.
So all of these students who are now in this country protesting and demanding to be given permanent residency without meeting any of the requirements that would actually make them eligible for permanent residency, they all told a Canadian border official that they would go home after their permit expired. So they all lied. I am very, very speaking, sir.
So most people will lie to the Canadian government that after education, they would go back home. And now the government in their, statement of purpose or
in
something.
their admissions.
They will ask you, would you go back home after your education? They will say yes. So if you said yes, why would you have to be here protesting that you need extra visa to stay in Canada?
Process at some point told them that they were going to be given permanent residency. Whether it was an immigration consultant in Canada, whether it was an education agent in India, or whatever other country they came from, or it was the university or college that they attended. And where do you think all of those people got their messaging from? Might it be perhaps from the government itself, since the government went on a spree of giving permanent residency to basically anyone for a few years after the pandemic? Mark Miller and Sean Fraser, as immigration ministers, have brought upon this country incalculable levels of damage. Under Justin Trudeau's leadership, they have changed Canada forever. They have demographically.
Na kyerɛ sɛ nsɛnkyerɛfoɔ no ɛrebahye Justin Trudeau n'aban no paa sɛ wɔn resume office anaa wɔn term of office ɛyɛ very very bad, especially for immigrants. Immigrants coming to Canada, they will not want to go. They have to go back and come on. And some of the also TV people to run to Canada. So pretty much I would like to end here. But this video I think particularly is for the Indian immigrants. Yeah, I'm not sure you are part of this issue, but the thing is that sometimes you might think it is against somebody, but if you are an international student, what you need to do is to know the do's and the don'ts, your left and the right, you know. Okay, so let me end the video here. The nitty-gritties will follow tomorrow. Melo TV people, Toronto, Canada.
Even though I didn't end up going to Canada, I believe there is this man called Milo TV who I must, and I don't know how to put it, but I must say a big thank you to him because he has been a big inspiration for me. He made me believe that this study abroad dream can really come to pass. Watching him, how he helped students, how he people were testifying, how asking them about their experience, their where they did a transit, and meeting them at the airport, talking to them, making them speak to us through his videos. It really really inspired me. Like it really sparked the interest in me. Even though I was tasty for this study abroad thing, but watching him really spiced it up. Trust me. I've never spoken to him before. I've never called him before. I don't even have his number. But then Milo, this is to say a big thank you. You have really been an inspiration for me. You really made me believe that this study abroad dream can really come to pass. I really watch his videos, and you can see from some of the comments I used to comment under his videos. Milo, thank you so much. I mean, you responding to, or you liking, or even commenting back on some of the comments I put under your videos were really insightful, and I really loved it, and I really appreciate it. Trust me. Not everyone will record this way like I'm doing. Not everyone will call you and thank you. But then what I'll say is that keep doing the good work, because you are really inspiring many people, even though they will not call you, or they will not do a video like I'm doing, or they won't let you know. But then behind the scenes, you are really inspiring and impacting life. So keep doing what you're doing, Milo TV. Thank you so much. This is just to say thank you. Maybe we'll speak in the future.